reflexes like a mongoose on amphetamines. Waving his Wilson wand. Super scintillating and sensational from Sosa. It's tennis near the gods. No mortal may approach.
Welcome back to Tennis Near the Gods. I'm Alex, joined with my brother Nicholas. And you know what? Today is a great day. Today is a great day, Nicholas. You know why? Because the Australian Open is here. I'm pumped. Tennis has been away for a long time on TV. Haven't been able to watch a lot. I mean, I know we've had a little bit of 250 action, ATP Cup, but the Australian Open is really where it's at. It's the first Grand Slam of the year, and you know what? Nothing gets me more psyched than to watch tennis from 7 o'clock till the wee hours of the morning. And you know what? I am in Cloud 9 right now. Cloud 9. I don't know about you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Me personally, the Australian Open is also my favorite tournament of the year. Unfortunately, this year the players are having to deal with air quality issues, but more importantly, the country of Australia and the people and the animals and the land affected by the bushfires. So I just wanted to start out by recognizing that and wishing them the best of luck in recovering.
Nice touch there. So we're going to get right into it. The Australian Open draw. The tournament is actually has started already. We're getting late to you guys just because Nicholas put the podcast second to everything else in his life and wouldn't be a team player and try to help me out. But you know, it is what it is. So I make do and try to rearrange my schedule just for him because that's what a team player does for the boys. And I put myself second. So, I mean, hats off to me, right?
Yeah, praise be.
All right. So, yes, the Australian Open. Your seeds, the top seeds, you have Rafa Nadal as your 1, Novak as your 2, Fed Goat as your 3, and then your 4 seed is Daniil Medvedev. So those are the top seeds. I'd say this year the draw is not as interesting as it has been in the past, but there's still some good first-round matchups, so we're going to get right into it. All right, Nicholas?
Yes.
All right, so we're going to start from the top and work our way down and then start getting into our more futures picks as we go on. But in the immediate future, I mean, you have to take Rafa Nadal in the early rounds just because you don't see anyone with big enough weapons to kind of punch through him. I don't see him losing to Delhi and don't see him losing to either the Debonis or Sousa. I think it's going to be Sousa. Or I see him for sure in the 4th round. So we'll leave it at that. And
I think before we go on, I think Pablo Carreno Busta could give Nadal a little bit of trouble. I think he'll be able to take a set off of Nadal, but that's about it.
No.
How? I thought he was actually playing quite well in ATP Cup. Granted, it was doubles, but he's found success. He's found success in Australia before. Last year, what was it? He was in the 4th round, and he probably should have won that match against Kei Nishikori in the Super Breaker as a 5th set.
Different level, man. He got injured this past year.
Yeah, and then he really recovered at the end of the year, and I was quite impressed with him.
I don't know about that. I don't take the set up at all. But you know, we'll see. I'll hold you to that.
Because Nadal isn't looking his dominant form of last year, really. He lost to Goffin, ATP Cup, and also Djokovic, both in straight sets.
I agree. But I mean, Novak hasn't dropped a set to Nadal in their last 8 meetings on hard court.
And then also De Minaur took a set off of him, and it was very close second set.
And what happened in the 3rd? 6-1.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're looking into it a little bit too much. Novak's going to dummy him on hard court. We know that just based on their past matchups on hard. That's not a surprise loss. I mean, the fact that he got that second set to 7-6 after Novak absolutely pounded him in the first, I was surprised about that. And the loss to Goffin, well, Goffin played a good match, and it's one of the earlier matches in the year. There's a heightened sense. Of course, it's a Grand Slam. I mean, he was playing for his country, so there's a lot going there. But it's a Grand Slam. It's a different amount of pressure. I think he'll be fine.
Yeah.
So getting into the small little picks, I think Sousa gets a much-needed win here against Dalmonas. He hasn't won a match in a long time. He's been struggling, especially at the end of last year. I think he takes that. I think Chris Eubanks advances. He qualified. The American qualifier, big serve. Tough to kind of get in a rhythm against a guy who's serving that big and pounding every other ball. And I see Carreno Busta coming through to Nadal and getting it handed to him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see anything too surprising here in this first section. And then moving down, I've got Nick Kyrgios as the 23 seed advancing. He plays the Lorenzo Sonego first round. And then I see Simon taking out Pablo Cuevas. Cuevas ended up withdrawing from a couple of his matches, at least one of them, in ATP Cup after he lost, 0-1 to Nishioka?
No, he played Basilis really too, and he played Nadal. He didn't pull out from a single match, but...
Oh, that was his brother, my bad.
Yeah, come on, do your research. I got you.
You did.
But yes, I agree. I think Cuevas' level has dropped significantly. I think Kyrgios advances, and you were talking to me earlier, and you brought up a quote that Kyrgios said, but I agree. I think Kyrgios does have a different level of focus, just off of hearing his press conferences. So I am high on him for this tournament. I know I have him advancing to the fourth round, not to get a little too far ahead. I think Khachanov, who is his seed down here in this part of the bracket, has not been playing great tennis.
I don't think he's playing bad tennis either, though. It's just not at the level of...
It's not at the level that he produced when he got inside the top 10. And he's not regressed, but I think cooled off. And I think Nick Kyrgios, having the weapons that he does, and if he can harness that in with his focus, is a much higher level player and can raise his level higher than Khachanov can. As we saw when Kyrgios played Tsitsipas, 7-6, 7-6, that was a high-level match. And yeah, I think Khachanov lost to someone in Auckland where I was like...
John Millman.
If you're losing to mailman in Auckland, I think when you play Kyrgios, and if he is really this changed guy because he's playing for a purpose that is not himself, I think that's some bad news. That's some bad news because that guy with focus, tough, too tough.
Yeah, definitely.
Just quickly, another matchup. Uchiyama Ymer. Michael Ymer is really starting to come into his own. He's fought his way through the challengers, and now he's breaking his. He was the most winningest challenger player last year, right?
I think so, or at least up there, top 5, definitely.
Not the most winningest, but he won. He was tied for the most challenger titles on the year, and now he's breaking his way into ATP events and winning matches. And I think it continues here. So, I think when we round up this little section with Rafa Nadal as your 1 seed and blocking off with Khachanov as your 16 seed, I have Rafa in the quarters beating Nick in the 4th round.
I'm going to disagree with you there. I've got Nick Kyrgios taking out Nadal. As I said earlier, Nadal has already lost 2 matches on the year. Nick Kyrgios, he produced some fantastic tennis at ATP Cup. He beat Stefanos Tsitsipas 7-6, 6-7, 7-6, I believe. And yes, he did lose to Roberto Bautista Agut 1-4, but I was still really impressed all around. And I feel like, as you said earlier, with that heightened sense of focus and just will to win and just playing more than just for himself. And I feel like that's what he's been struggling with throughout his career, is that he hasn't really cared all that much whether he wins or loses, and it really matters now. He's been probably, I'd say, the leading supporter in terms of the bushfire relief effort out of all the ATP players, and it's showing how he's acting and how he's playing.
Listen, I think Kyrgios has been playing well, and I think he will play well in the Australian Open. One thing is I think Rafa Nadal also will be playing well and will be very focused. And one thing's for sure, I know he is not the biggest fan of Nick Kyrgios, so I think that adds a lot in there. And I think when Nick Kyrgios has beaten him, Nadal has failed to shut the door on him in some of those matches. And I think Nick Kyrgios will come out fine, but I think at the end of the day, when you stack up those two, Nadal is just the better winner, and I think he'll find a way to pull it out. It's best out of 5 sets. This is not on grass where there is much more value for serving and hitting massive. I mean, again, this is hard court. It's not a clay court. Kyrgios is going to hit some unreturnable balls, a lot of them probably. But I think at the end of the day, Nadal will be able to scrap it out. He's the better winner, and I think that definitely will win out most of the time in Grand Slams. So that's why I would pick Nadal.
All right. Well, moving on, you've got Gael Monfils playing Jensen Liu, and I've got Monfils advancing, and then Vasek Pospisil, a guy who I really like. Both of us really like, coming off of injury. He started his comeback at the beginning of the summer, I think in July, and he's just really progressed, finding a lot of success in challenger events during the fall, in the U.S. hard court swing and challenger events, and then just in, I forget what 250 he just played, but he was able to qualify and get a solid first round win, and then lost to Shapovalov in a pretty good match.
I think I agree. I have Monfils playing Pospisil and Pospisil beating Monfils.
Yep.
I think when you look at it, Monfils has been playing phenomenal tennis, and I think just the matchup, Pospisil is going to like the rhythm Monfils gives him in terms of off the backhand, and Pospisil plays very aggressive. And so in order to get him uncomfortable, I think Monfils is going to have to keep him back, and I think the way Pospisil has been playing, he's flown under the radar because he has been in challengers, but I think his trending 3-month UTR, which is something I do look at when comparing players, and just seeing how they've been playing. I mean, granted, it has been the off season, but Pospisil's top 20 in the world in terms of that, and I think he's gone mostly unnoticed because he has not played in many big events or televised events that people have seen. I mean, he did play Shanghai and qualify, but he then went back and played Knoxville and something like that, and Monfils is a bigger name. I think Pospisil has been playing the better tennis of the two.
I definitely agree. And when you move down, I see Felix Auger-Aliassime reaching the third round to set up an all-Canadian clash.
Yeah,
and Felix just made the semifinals of, was it? Adelaide, yes. And he played in 3-7-6 in the third, I think, to...
No, 6-4 in the
6-4 in the third.
6-4. So when I look at this, Duckworth-Bedene, Duckworth is an Australian. I take Bedene, though. I think he's a better player. Just with this matchup, I don't think Duckworth is going to be able to hang. He's going to be forced back. Bedene takes the ball nice and early, and he's just solid. He's an aggressive baseliner who's going to be able to find his inside out against Duckworth. Duckworth kind of punches the ball through the court. I take Bedene, and then I take FAA all the way to the fourth round. I think the Gulbis match is a tough match just because Felix has not been playing great tennis to start off the year, but I think his draw allows him to gain some confidence because, listen, no matter if he's not playing well, his serve is going to be thundering. So it's going to give him a shot in any single match up to a certain point when you play a class returner like a Novak or something like that, you know? Or one of the top guys who can handle that. So I took Felix to the fourth round. He's always matched up well against Pospisil, and I know Pospisil has been playing the better tennis, but I feel like Felix has enough firepower, or has the firepower where he can kind of not like keep Pospisil off his game. And I take Felix to make the fourth round because I feel like he is the better talent. He is the better talent, and I think it will win out because he puts in the work. And you know what? He might not have had the best start, but he ended up in that Rublev match. He could have very well won that. The set that he lost in the first set, he had set points, and he ends up losing in three. And Rublev is arguably one of the hottest tennis players in the world right now. So I think he bounced back after ATP Cup. Not necessarily the result he would have wanted, but it was a high-level match. And I have Felix advancing to the fourth round.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there, having Felix reach the fourth round. And then Taylor Fritz, another very hot tennis player right now on tour, plays Talon's Griekspoor, and I see Fritz advancing all the way to the third round. He'd have to play Kevin Anderson, most likely second round. But then I see Dominic Thiem moving through. He played 3 matches at ATP Cup. He lost to Coric and Urkash, and I believe he beat Diego Schwartzman. But I see him. They're all close matches, very competitive. And on hard courts with Nicolas Massu as his coach, he's found so much more success. And I see it really showing this tournament.
Yeah, I agree with you with Thiem. I think Thiem's going to have a big tournament. The one thing where I'm going to differ with you, I think Kevin Anderson's going to beat Fritz. I know he's been out for a while, but I thought the match that he played against Benoit Paire was a great match for him to have, just because he fought back in that match, having Paire serve for it twice in 2 different sets, and he ends up winning the match. I think that's a big confidence boost to have coming into a Grand Slam, and I think just matchup-wise, he can keep Fritz off his game. He hits big, but he can also defend well for a big guy. And I know Fritz has been playing good tennis, but I think Kevin Anderson is the better player. He has more experience. And he had the higher level of the two. And I think that ultimately prevails. But I have Dominic Thiem going deep.
Yeah, me too. And when you look, so Dominic Thiem versus Felix Auger-Aliassime, I have Thiem moving through. So it'd be setting up a Nadal or Kyrgios Thiem matchup.
Yeah. All right. Daniil Medvedev. Daniil Medvedev has Francis Tiafoe first round. I don't think that poses any difficulties for him. When I do look at this draw for him, the one interesting matchup I have is Popyrin versus Tsonga. Tsonga hasn't played much. His only match this year was losing first round to Miomir Kekmanovic in Doha. And Popyrin last year is defending a bunch of points. He was third round Aussie, right?
Mm-hmm. He had a big run. He went to 5
he
sets.
lost to Luca Pouille.
Yes.
And he ended up losing to Luca Pouille. I think this is an interesting matchup.
I've got Tsonga moving through, beating Popyrin. He last year at the end of the year in Paris, he reached the quarterfinals, beating Berrettini, Rublev, and Struff, all 3 guys who are finding some great success already this year. And Popyrin, even though it is on his home soil and he's done very well here last year, I'm taking Tsonga.
Yeah, I'm with you. I take Tsonga through. I have Jaime Munar playing in the second round, but he still advances. I have Kopfer taking out Medvedev, which is a rematch. Not taking out Medvedev, playing Medvedev.
Ah, okay.
Which is a rematch of the match that they had at the U.S. Open in the third round, right?
Fourth round, I believe.
Fourth round. I mean, so I think Medvedev has a solid tournament.
Yeah, definitely. I see Medvedev moving through to the fourth round.
Watching him play ATP Cup, he is so tough. He keeps the ball so low off both sides, and the ball slides through the court. It's very hard to attack. Like you saw Djokovic, it gives Djokovic a lot of problems.
And exactly, and even when you thought he was done and dusted, he went down 6-1, 1-love, down a break, and he was managed to fight his way back. He's always in these matches because of his unorthodox style. He hits massive serves and really slides the ball through the court, can hit the ball, and also can grind. So I have him moving through, and I think he can do a lot of damage, just like he did at the U.S. Open.
Yeah, I agree. So now, Isner as your 19, Stan as your 15. Listen, Isner has not been playing great tennis. And so this is where I start getting into my upset specials. I have Monteiro taking out Isner. I don't know why.
No,
but
I don't have that.
I have Daniel Galan beating Tabila and then beating Monteiro. Daniel Galan.
No.
Big serving Colombian. He's Colombian, right?
Yes, he is.
I just wanted to make sure. And then I have Stan the Man beating Niemir in the second round, and Stan advancing to play Medvedev in the fourth round. That's what I got. What about you?
I have Wawrinka taking out Isner in the third round. I see Isner, he made the semifinals of Auckland. I think he lost to Ugo Humbert. Yes, in the semifinals, he beat both Kyle Edmund and Tennis Sandgren. He did look like he was having trouble with his neck. His neck was bothering him, but that shouldn't be too much of an issue. I'm sure that'll get sorted out. And I've got Wawrinka moving through to the fourth round to play Medvedev, where I see Medvedev taking him out.
All right. Fair enough. I think that is something that you will be wrong. I think Galan is one of my upset specials. Big serve guy. Big serve. His big tournament last year was the Houston 250. So I'm big into that, and I have Medvedev beating Stan in the fourth round. So I have Medvedev. My quarterfinals right now are Rafa, Dominic, and Medvedev.
I love how you're taking a clay quarter to take out John Isner on the hard court.
Listen, Monteiro is going to be grunting very loud. He's going to dig in. He's going to work those forehands inside into Isner's backhand. He's going to go back far and return and just grind. And I think, you know what? It's everything. It's against everything, I think. But I think Monteiro takes him out just based off of the fact that Isner has not been playing great tennis. And I think in a best out of 5-set match, if you're not playing great tennis, you know what? He may be able to scratch through that one. But I think Daniel Galan will give him a hard time.
Another clay quarter. But all right, that's beside the point. I think this is next section of the draw is where it really starts to get interesting for me. I see Goffin moving through, beating Chardy, and then also Pierre Huzarberg. Cam Norrie has not been playing great tennis. I think he lost in the first or second round in Auckland, where he finaled last year, losing to Tennis Sandgren, his first and only ATP final in his career. And then I see Chris O'Connell giving Andre Rublev a tough time.
No. Listen, I know he's been hot on the Challenger Tour, but I think Rublev, man. I think Rublev, even though he's played a lot of matches, he's played 8 matches so far in this season, I think he goes on a run. I do. He's put in the work, dude. He has paid his dues. He's gone through a lot, and he is hungry. This is his year. And as Roger said, when Roger was like, all right, who do you think is going to be who's going to do something big? Roger said Rublev. And I agree.
Well, look, in that video, everyone was saying
Nicholas,
players who they lost to.
Nicholas, time out. When you have someone who strikes the ball as well as he does and can get to offense as well as he does, O'Connell's not going to be able to touch him, I don't think. And I think even Goffin, he's just going to run through. Because Goffin's game is timing taking the ball early. But when you have someone who's taking the ball early, just as early as you are, except he's putting that ball back with interest on it, I mean, how are you going to keep on doing that? And that ball's low, it's through the court.
I don't disagree with the first part, but I see Rublev losing to Goffin in what I think will be a great third-round match, and the Belgian advancing to the fourth round. So, especially because Rublev, he's already played 8 matches, as you said. A couple of them were very close. And yes, this year is going to be big for him, but I think not just yet at a Grand Slam. Soon, though. Maybe at the U.S. Open.
No. I'm taking Rublev through. I think he's going to play Ben Sherritt in the second round. I think Ben Sherritt beats Sugita. I think Rublev then takes off Goffin. And then when you look at it, I'm thinking it's either Goffin or Rublev who I have in my quarterfinals, because I think Zverev, man, he's in a world of hurt right now. He's not playing good tennis. He's not in a good frame of mind, or has not been. Hopefully he does get there. But I do not think his tennis level has not been great. It took, when I was looking at this draw, I mean, I could see him losing to Cecchinato at this point.
And that's saying a lot.
Cecchinato won a match, by the way, in Auckland.
And then did you see that war that he had with Leonardo Mayer? That was crazy.
Yeah, it was like 2018 in the second set breaker.
Yeah.
I mean, that's banana lands. Like, what? 2018 in a breaker? That's crazy.
But I see Casper Ruud posing a big threat to Zverev. I think that's a 5-7.
I agree.
I'm not sure if he'll be able to move through, but
I think when I looked at this, I think it's just going to get tougher and tougher for him, and I think the confidence level will drop as each match goes on. I think he digs it out, but I think there's going to be at least 1 or 2 5-setters in there.
Yeah, for sure. And I have Basilashvili, Verdasco, or Ruud taking him out.
I don't have, but listen, I think Basilashvili could lose to Seikon Kwan. Man, I love Basilashvili, but I think he has not been playing great tennis. I have Verdasco in my third round against Zverev. I have Zverev advancing through, and then losing to Rublev in the fourth.
Yeah.
Just when he gets to someone who can outshot make him and can grind with him too, and where he's just he isn't necessarily the better hitter or the better player on the court, that's when he's going to be in trouble. Like, mentally, I think he is enough to get by Casper Ruud. His backhand is unbelievable, whether he is in the right frame of mind or not. But ultimately, I think Rublev just will blow holes through his game.
Yeah, and I've got Goffin moving to the quarterfinals.
All right, so that's where we disagree with. Fair enough. So now we have, and then I have Medvedev beating Rublev. That's something.
I've got Medvedev reaching the semis. Agreed.
All right, so so wait, I just gave away my semi. That was not smart of me. So then I'll go back up real quick. So to set up the semi again is I have Dominic Thiem beating Rafa. That's another upset special.
Yeah, I see Dominic Thiem taking out Kyrgios also.
All right, fair enough. All right, let's move on and let's get back to the semis later. Berrettini's your 8. He started off his 2020 Australian Open campaign with a win over Harris, the Aussie Open wild card. The bottom half of the draw, some of the matches have been played already, so we know some of the results, but we will go through it either way. He is matched up with Borna Coric, the 25 seed, who took a loss to Sam Querrey, who now will play Ricardus Berankis in the second round, and Berrettini still awaits the winner of Sangren Trungelliti, and the score is currently, Nicholas, take a guess?
I'm not sure.
1-0 Sangren Trungelliti to serve in the first.
Right. Well, I think it's important to note that Coric really did not look physically great. His moving looked a little bit hampered.
Horrible. Dude, he looked constipated running. It was. Right. I mean, he ran to a drop shot. I was like, "What is wrong with him?" It was like he was like speed walking.
Yeah.
Like up straight. Oh man, that was not great. Would have been nice to know before the match, but seriously. But I think no matter what, I have Trungelliti.
Who bet on him?
Special. I have Trungelliti beating Sangren. A little fun there. Trunga took out JJ Wolf in qualies. I watched that match.
That was a battle.
JJ.
0-6, 7-6, 7-5.
Listen, JJ could have dummied him. Mm-hmm. He could have cashed in those break points early in the first set, and it would have been thanks for playing.
Second set.
Have a safe trip home. See you in the Challenger circuit.
Yeah.
But that didn't end up happening. JJ went a little too much over the board, started missing a little bit more. Trunga got in the match and started playing well. But I take Trunga to take out Sandgren.
Oh, no, definitely not. I've got Tennis Sandgren taking out Trungelliti. And Matteo Berrettini advancing to the 4th round.
Yeah, very simple. I think Berrettini is just, man, I watched his match against Harris, and I know Harris is not up to par necessary level-wise with Berrettini, but boy, did Berrettini look good. He is ripping the slice. Ripping it. That's something he definitely worked on. The slice is a lot more pertinent in his game right now, and it was already a lot before.
All right, and then moving down, you've got Guido Pella as the 22 seed and Fognini as the 12 seed. I see Riley Opelka taking out Fognini. He's already up 2 sets to love. It's on serve in the 3rd set.
I thought that was a given, man. Fognini's been a bum recently. I hate to say that, but he really has. I mean, whether it's the match that he tanked against Casper Ruud in ATP Cup, or what was the match he lost to Feliciano Lopez in Auckland. I didn't watch that, so I can't say whether he tanked or not. I don't think he did. But he has just been terrible.
Yeah, he's really not been looking too great. And then moving to the top half of this little section, I see Gregor Barrera taking out Guido Pella.
No,
I really like him.
No. Listen, here's my little. This is another little upset special. I have Guido Pella in the 4th round. Gregor Barrera snuck his way through the Mo Safwat match. Pella has already beaten John Patrick Smith, and Barrera's already beaten Safwat. I think Barrera, the matchup is not great, and I think Pella's just a better player, man. He's a better player. Barrera didn't have, Safwat was dictating that match, I felt, when I watched. Barrera's just rock solid off of both sides. And I think Pella can kind of turn the screw. He's a crafty lefty. He gets the ball off the court a lot more than other guys, and he's going to stretch Barrera out more than he's comfortable. And I think errors will start to creep in, and he'll be able to dictate, and yeah.
All right. Well, and then I see what I have a lot of trouble right now with is Jordan Thompson versus Alex Bublik.
Listen, I had the same thing. Their odds are like the same thing. It's crazy to win. It's so weird. It's like they're both negative, but they're both like minus something. But I'm taking Bublik into the 3rd round. I always feel like, listen, I'll start with the matchup with Jordan Thompson first. I think the match is on Bublik's racket. It is.
Yes,
there's no denying that.
Yep.
And Bublik has progressively become more not restrained, but you know what I'm trying to say. He has become his game.
He's reined it in.
He's reined it in as each match is, or not each match, but from tournament to tournament, kind of. But over time, he's reined it in, right? Mm-hmm. And I just feel like when it's the first tournament of the year, I don't feel like someone's going to go out there and say, screw this.
No, I agree with you. Bublik's already gotten 2 solid match wins under his belt in 2020. He beat Adrian Manarino in Doha and Taylor Fritz in Adelaide, both in straight sets. And yes, exactly. I agree with you.
I think it's just a matchup that fits him. He'll be able to be creative. He'll be able to hit shots where he's going to be enjoying himself, and I think that just gives him the advantage. I think he ends up toughing it out, and then it comes into another one of my points. I think he takes out Opelka. Opelka now has done this numerous times where last year at the Australian Open, or was it 2 years ago, he beats Isner and then loses to Thomas Fabiano. At the U.S. Open this prior year, he beat someone good and then ended up losing to Dominic Koper. He had an upset. I agree with you there. Beating Fognini.
I agree. And also, I don't think the matchup necessarily suits him too well because Bublik really likes to take the ball on, and Opelka really likes to rip, and I don't think Opelka is going to be given too many opportunities to do that.
Fair enough. So I have Pella in my 4th round against Berrettini. Berrettini beating him, being in the quarters.
Yeah, I can't
All right.
disagree with you there.
So now this is where it becomes where I get to be a little smarter now. So Denis Shapovalov has lost, right? He was the 13th seed. He lost to Martin Fucsovics 7-6 in the fourth set. And even though as much as it pains me to say this, I'm going to be honest. You know why? Because my character is of a high standard. I had Denis Shapovalov in my semifinals.
Oh, that's a terrible pick. I would never have done that.
Now you can say that. Now you can say that. Now you can say that all you want. But at the time, I did not think so. But now that the tournament has already begun, and I know that Denis Shapovalov is no longer in the tournament, I get to rearrange my draw a little bit to make myself sound a little bit smarter. So that is what I'm going to do. And when I look at this, Fucsovics plays the winner of Sinner. Purcell. Sinner's up 2-1. 2 sets to love, correction, 4-all, 15-30 in the third. I think Sinner ends up winning that. I think Fucsovics, Sinner, that's a tough one.
I take Fucsovics there. I think Fucsovics is just more experienced. He's got more firepower. I think he's just the better player.
He does not have more firepower. That is something I would agree with. But I think he is more consistent with his power.
Okay.
Sinner has more firepower. I take Fucsovics, though. So, that opens it up for Demi. Demi just beat Londero. He dropped the set, but he did beat Londero. He faces the winner of Leonardo Mayer, Tommy Paul. I think TP wins that. I think TP plays Dimitrov, and that's where I got a little bit, I wouldn't say not confused, but I'm thinking TP Dimitrov. I'd love to see TP win. I'd love to. He's been playing good ball recently.
I think, yes, Tommy Paul is a great player. He's going to have fantastic success this year, in my opinion. I see him taking out Leonardo Mayer, and I think the match against Grigor is going to be really high quality and really close, kind of like what we saw a couple of years ago with Demi versus Mackie McDonald, I think in the first round where it was 8-6 in the fifth set. I don't think it'll necessarily go to a 7-6, 6-all in the fifth, and having to play a super tiebreaker, but I think it will go to 5. But I see Demi, just more experience. I think he's also just a better player, and him taking out Tommy Paul to reach the third round, and then taking out Fucsovics to reach the round of 16.
Yeah. So, listen, I think Dimitrov ends up winning that match too. I agree. And I have Dimitrov advancing to play Fed Goat in the fourth round.
Oh, you just jumped there. I love it.
Yeah.
Roger Federer played a fantastic match. He's got 98 match wins at the Australian Open, 2 away from 100.
Federer is playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. Because Shapovalov losing makes his draw a whole heck of a lot easier.
Yes.
I think, personally.
No, definitely.
Shapovalov has firepower. That guy hits big. That's something that could give Fed a tough time.
But then again, Grigor Dimitrov beat Federer last year at the U.S. Open.
Federer was injured. He was injured.
Still, a win's a win.
He was injured.
A win's a win.
A win is a win, but he was injured.
Okay.
And when I looked at this draw, I was like, oh my gosh, Fed's going to have a tough time. You look at Hurkacz. Damn. Guy's tough. Big hitter. But then again, I was like, you know what? Fed is Fed. And every time I think that Fed, you know what? He's slipping. He doesn't. Because he is just so superior on the court. And this is where I get to rewrite my draw. Fed Goat, I have advancing. Advancing to the quarters to face Matteo Berrettini. I think he plays Hurkacz in the third round. I think Hurkacz is a tough match with Johnny Mailman in the second round. Even though Ugo Humbert just won at 250, I still think Millman beats him. I still think it. Millman's played a high level of tennis. Ugo Humbert's coming off the biggest tournament of his career. Now he's got to get back up for the Australian first round. The Aussies are going to be getting after for Johnny Millman. I think Millman takes it.
And yeah, he had a couple of big match wins in Auckland and ATP Cup. He beat Felix in straights at ATP Cup, and then Karen Khachanov in Auckland before losing to the eventual finalist, Benoit Paire. So I agree with you there, taking Millman. And Hurkacz moving to the third round, losing to Federer, and Federer reaching eventually reaching the semifinals, beating Berrettini in the quarters.
Fair enough. So I got Fed Goat, Demi, Fed Goat over him. So now let's move down, and then we'll get back up later. We have Stefanos Tsitsipas, who's already beaten Salvatore Caruso. He's the 6th seed. Cole Schreiber's already beaten Marcos Giron. Christian Garen's up 2 sets to love on Travaglia. Raonic is up 2 sets to love on Luis Cristino. So I think that's pretty much set. You're going to have Tsitsipas, Cole Schreiber, Garin, Raonic. I think I did pick originally Raonic, and I'm going to pick him again, and I have Raonic, Tsitsipas over him.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you there. But I do see Garin giving Raonic trouble. Maybe that's another 5-setter.
For sure. Moving down, Benoit Paire playing Step. Then you have Cilic versus Moutet, and this is where I go banana land, right? Moutet. Yes. I'm all over Moutet. All over him, man. This guy, he's a sneaky one. You look at him, you're like, hey, he's a small guy. Little, like, crafty lefty, but this guy is like a rat on the court. He just scurries around, and he just finds stuff where you don't expect him to find stuff. And even though that might sound like what's the opposite of a compliment? I'm blanking right now. It might sound like I'm like ragging on him. Insult. My brain is mush right now. As much as it might sound as an insult, this guy is tough, and I am all over him to beat Cilic. He's the underdog in that match, but he has had a great start to the season. Great start. He beat Stan in Doha.
Yeah, exactly. He qualified for Doha and made the finals, losing to eventual champion Andrei Rublev.
It's a lot of matches, and lost to Rublev in a good match. I'm high on Moutet. High on him. And I have Moutet to beat Paire in the second round, to face Bautista Agut in the third round to ultimately lose to him, and Bautista Agut to play Tsitsipas, and Tsitsipas to lose to Bautista Agut.
I agree.
And this is where I'm going to start getting a little into the conditions, right? So, Melbourne's had some weird freaking weather. And even though it is the summer for them, it is not that warm for summer weather in Melbourne right now. No, even though they did have the forest fires, I hope everyone's okay, etc. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's starting to get cold there. It's starting to get cold. I mean, the high for when they would play would be 79, maybe, depending on the day. I mean, they may play Tuesday, and the high would be 72. I'm looking at the weather right now.
I got it up as well.
Those are slow conditions. That fits right into Roberto, man. If they play at night and Roberto plays Tsitsipas, oh, man, that's good for Roberto. The ball's slow. It will stay low. His backhand won't be climbing. Tsitsipas won't be able to get the ball up as high on Roberto. Oh, man. This sounds like Wimbledon 2019 to Roberto to me.
Yeah, definitely. And Roberto, he went undefeated at ATP Cup. He's been playing some great tennis. He got a couple of great match wins under his belt. He beat Dusan Lajovic in the finals, Nick Kyrgios, I think, in the semis, and just overall a complete performance from him. And then moving down, I've got Diego Schwartzman reaching the fourth round. I see him taking out Dusan Lajovic in the third round. What do you think about that matchup?
I have Dutzy taking him out. I think he's the hotter player. One thing, Dutzy is down 5-2 to Kyle Edmund, but I think the rain delay will give him like a little nice break. It will be less windy. I think he struggles in the wind just with that one-hander. I don't know. I think it's suspect when it comes to that. Even though he's a professional tennis player, should be able to deal with the wind, but I'm going very fast right now. I'm looking at Norton Gumbos to take out Davidovich Fokina. That's another little upset in terms of odds. Norton Gumbos cruised through qualies, man. And I think he'll play Schwartzman, ultimately lose to Schwartzman. I think Kukushkin over Pullmans. I take Lajovic over Edmund, Lajovic over Kukushkin, Lajovic over Schwartzman. I think the matchup of Lajovic to Schwartzman, Nicholas, is an interesting one. I know, I'm going. But
Yeah.
when I looked at how Lajovic played ATP Cup, I was really impressed, man. Really impressed. He was very methodical and played within his patterns very well. very well, played it very smart throughout the entire tournament, and even though he lost to Roberto, I thought the first set was an incredibly high level. He's using his forehand very well, and he's using the backhand very well as well, which is something that was always his weaker wing, right? But now he's being a lot more crafty with it, using the slice a little bit more as an aggressive play, and then he can always rip that one-hander.
Yeah, and the reason why I got Diego Schwartzman, he did go 1-3 at ATP Cup, but he only played top 40 players. He lost to Hurkacz in 3, playing great tennis there. Medvedev in 3, team in straights, and then beat Schwartz 2-2. So I think Diego, he's been playing some good, solid tennis, and I see him moving through to the fourth round. And then moving down into the final section, Dan Evans just took out Mackie McDonald coming back from a 2-set-to-love deficit. And then he'll play Yoshihito Nishioka in the second round. But I don't see Nishioka moving through there, and I've got Djokovic advancing to the fourth round thereafter.
Yeah, listen, I have Nishioka beating Dan Evans. I think the Dan Evans level against Mackie was not as high, obviously, as ATP Cup. And I think Nishioka, it's an interesting matchup because that slice will be going to Nishioka's forehand on the cross. And I think Nishioka has been the hotter player, even though Dan Evans had a phenomenal ATP Cup. And I think, I go with Nishioka. Right. I like that matchup. And I have Novak going through, playing Dutzy in the fourth round. Novak ultimately playing Roberto in the quarters and advancing to the semis to play Nicholas. Who do you think I'm going to pick?
Roger.
Fed Goat. I take Fed Goat. He's playing chess. Everybody else is playing checkers.
I agree with you in that semifinal. I've got Novak moving through, though, to the finals to play.
Domi.
Nope. Daniil Medvedev.
Oh, man. And I've Domi versus Novak winning. Do you have Novak winning?
No, I do not. I have Daniil Medvedev lifting the Australian Open title. And just like a ton of players were saying for this 2020 year, their bold prediction of the year is saying there'd be a new Grand Slam champion. And I see it coming this time.
I don't think Australian Open. You think Novak's going out in the Aussie Open?
I know, it's bold prediction.
Dude, he owns the Aussie Open.
Yeah, he does. He's going for a record eighth title. So.
All right, fair enough. Guys, we appreciate your support. We hope that you listened to this entire podcast. If not, that's good. That's good. If you made it to this point, we very much appreciate it. It was one of our longer podcasts. We're going to keep trying to improving, working harder to prepare better stuff. We're going to try to go matchup to matchup, get the odds on each guy, start going into each matchup more in depth, I'd say. I'm starting to get into that stuff too and go and find the odds online and start going through that because I'm interested. And I'm going to be, I think, posting my results because I have them all written down. So I'm going to go after each round. I think we're going to figure out. Nicholas will put it out on Twitter or something.